Fighting poverty in urban areas is a lot different from efforts in rural areas. I asked John McArthur about that. He's a senior fellow at the UN Foundation.
So in the rural areas, it's farms. And so most of the people who are living in extreme poverty are farmers. And so the number one way to get them out of poverty is to help make their farms more productive. That's a very location-specific thing. It depends on what kind of crops they grow. It depends on who they're selling it to. There's a lot that goes into farming. But the flip side of it is there's a lot of easy wins to get the farms more productive. If you can do things like help farmers who don't have access to fertilizer get fertilizer, or if they don't have irrigation, get irrigation, that can go a long, long way.
And is part of the problem also lack of infrastructure?
Absolutely. So roads, for example, if you look around rural Africa, for example, one of the biggest challenges is transport. Getting stuff from the market and getting stuff back to the market. And it's actually just very expensive. And so, again, that's a big question. Is that a hard problem or an easy problem? I call it a straightforward problem.
Right. The United Nations last month set a rather ambitious goal, in my opinion, of eliminating poverty in 15 years. What needs to happen for these goals to be attainable and for poverty to be eradicated?
I think the first thing to note is that we're already on track to get pretty close to ending extreme poverty by 2030. So depending on exactly how you count it, extreme poverty has been dropping by about 1 percentage point a year for the past generation. So over the course of 20 years, that's around 20 percentage points. It's pretty big numbers. On current trajectory, we're likely to get down to around 5% of the world living in extreme poverty by 2030. It's a huge drop, and people can't even imagine how much success that is. The question is, how do we get that last 5% done? 5% is a small percentage, still probably 400 million people. So the question is, where are those people living, and what are the specific things that need to be done to help them get out of poverty? I would say 3 things. First, the largest number of them are African farmers. So it comes down to how to get those African farms more productive, to both help them earn a better income on the farm and also free them up to get jobs off the farm. Second thing is, how do we take on the places that are the most fragile, the most conflict affected? That's probably the hardest problem humanity faces, is the parts of the world that are stuck in the fragility, conflict, poverty, hunger trap. And we know, by the way, that the places that are most affected by climate change, because the rains fail, temperatures go up, those are also the places where it's hardest to grow crops on a reliable basis, and those are the places that are very likely to have more conflict. So even the simplest things like getting water and irrigation for farmers matters hugely. But the third big thing, I would say, is thinking about technology. And this is the exciting part. We couldn't even imagine 15 years ago that everyone in the world would be holding a cell phone. Now that's almost normal. What we can start thinking about now is not just everyone holding a cell phone, but everyone getting a little bit of minimum life support income, maybe $1 a day of income, through their mobile phone. And the technology and the evidence is showing that even one of the most effective ways to help people living in extreme poverty is to give them a little bit of income. And this notion of direct cash support to people living on the farthest reaches of the planet through their phones, this might actually make it a lot easier than any of us could have imagined.